All right, let's dive into a business idea that's frankly a game changer for entrepreneurs in India. We're talking about a way to tackle a huge environmental problem and build a really profitable business at the exact same time. Think about this simple but powerful idea for a second. What if all that agricultural waste we see everywhere, the stuff that's usually burned, causing all that smog and pollution, what if it isn't a problem at all? What if it's actually a raw material for a brand new source of income? So let's break down exactly how this works, how you can take this major environmental issue and turn it into a powerful, scalable, and pretty modern business model. Okay, on one hand, you've got agricultural waste. You burn it, you get pollution, you get CO2 pumped into the atmosphere. But on the other hand, you have the biochar business. It takes that exact same waste and instead creates income, completely solves the waste problem, and it actually helps fight climate change. It's all about shifting your perspective and seeing value where most people just see a problem. So what is this stuff at the heart of this whole opportunity? Let's take a closer look at what's called biochar. So at its simplest, you can think of it as a special kind of charcoal. But hey, this is not for your barbecue. It's made from organic waste. Things like rice husks, coconut shells, you name it. Its real power, though, is in how it's made and what it can do for our planet's soil and atmosphere. The magic really happens through a process called pyrolysis. Now, this is super important. It is not burning. You start by collecting and drying the biomass. Then, inside a special reactor, you heat it up to a really high temperature but with very little oxygen. This completely transforms the waste, creating the biochar, plus other useful things like bio-oil and gas. And this number, well, this just brilliantly shows the biggest climate benefit. The carbon that was inside that plant waste doesn't get released into the atmosphere as CO2. Instead, it gets locked away, trapped in the solid structure of the biochar, where it can stay stable in the soil for hundreds, maybe even up to 1,000 years. It's an incredibly powerful form of carbon capture. Now, here is where things get really, really interesting for any entrepreneur. This one process doesn't just create one way to make money. It creates two. This is where the business model gets truly exciting. So first, you sell the physical product itself, the biochar, to people like farmers who use it to make their soil healthier. And second, you sell the verified climate impact it creates, and you sell that in the form of carbon credits. You're literally monetizing both the product and the process. You see, these environmental benefits, from helping soil hold more water to physically capturing carbon, they aren't just feel-good side effects. No way. They are scientifically measurable, and that verification is exactly what creates the foundation for your second income stream from carbon credits. For example, check this out. When you add biochar to soil, studies show it can cut harmful nitrous oxide emissions, which is a really potent greenhouse gas, by up to 50%. That is a huge benefit for making agriculture more climate-friendly. And at the end of the day, this just makes farming more sustainable and, more profitable for the farmer. Biochar helps the soil hold onto water better by up to 20%, which means less irrigation is needed. And it cuts down on all that chemical fertilizer runoff that gets into our rivers. Okay, so let's see how all of this connects to the global carbon credit market. This is what we mean when we say this is the climate finance part of the business. It's a fantastic question, right? And the answer lies in a globally recognized system that's been set up specifically to put a value on climate action. So a carbon credit is basically a certificate. It represents 1 ton of CO2 that's been removed from the atmosphere. And because biochar physically locks carbon away for centuries, it generates some of the highest quality credits you can get. They're called carbon removal credits. Companies all over the world buy these to offset their own emissions, either because they have to or because they want to meet their own climate goals. And here it is. This is the powerful conversion rate that really drives the whole business model. For every single ton of biochar you produce, you can generate between 2.5 and 3 tons of CO2 removal credits. So let's say a high-quality credit sells for $100. Well, that 1 ton of biochar just made you $250 to $300 in credit revenue alone. Okay, so this all sounds great, but let's get real. What does it actually take to get a biochar business up and running? Well, the good news is this business is incredibly scalable. You could start with a pretty small rural unit for maybe 5 to 15 lakh rupees. Or, you can think bigger with a medium-sized setup or even a full-on industrial plant. There are entry points for all different levels of investment. Now, no matter the scale, you're going to need some core equipment. The pyrolysis reactor, that's the heart of the whole operation. You'll also need machines to get the biomass ready, like dryers and shredders, and then equipment to process and package the final biochar product. And of course, you've got the paperwork. You'll need your standard business registrations and a clearance from the Pollution Control Board. But listen up. The most important one on this list is that last one, carbon certification. This is the absolute key that unlocks your ability to sell those valuable carbon credits on the international market. This might be the most important thing to take away from all of this. While your raw material comes from agriculture, you're not just getting into the farming industry. You are entering a modern, fundable, and globally relevant industry that sits right at the intersection of green tech, waste management, and climate finance. The raw materials are literally all around us. The technology is accessible, and you've got two powerful markets waiting for you, one for soil health and one for climate action. The opportunity to turn waste into wealth is right here, offering a chance to combine smart entrepreneurship with a truly powerful solution for our future.